Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. The first story about a rude man who could ride all day for free, but still karma caught up with him. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Here's your ticket, sir. Have a nice trip. I work as a cashier on my country's subway system. My job mostly consists of selling subway cards, load them with money, and selling single-use tickets. Yesterday, there were elections in my country, and in an effort to fight absenteeism, the government made the subway system free for the day. Sadly, we had to work anyway, mostly to load cards for people who were taking the bus, not free. Most would come in unaware the subway was free for the day, so often people would try to buy a ticket. I would reply with something like, "Sir, today the subway is free so you can go vote. So you can talk to a guard and he'll lend you a subway card so you can enter." Enter Chav. The day was slow, so I couldn't help but chat with my colleagues. Unprofessional, I take it on the chin. And this guy comes in and just slaps a handful of coins in front of me, obviously trying to get my attention. "Ticket," he yelled, staring daggers at me. "Excuse me?" I asked calmly. Not because I didn't hear, but just as a chance for him to change his tone. "Ticket, and make it quick," he said, raising his voice. Now, I usually make an effort to delay annoying customers while telling them as PC as possible to have some effing manners. But today, I was feeling particularly cooperative. I shut up, quickly sold him the ticket, and wished him a safe travel. He replied with an insult. My only regret is not being able to see his face when he notices he was the only idiot in a city of 5 million to pay for the subway while it was free all day long. And our second story. New area manager is an a-hole. Word had spread around the office that our new area manager was an a-hole of the highest order. He had a reputation throughout the company of being a hatchet man and did not care about anyone but himself. He was notorious for going into failing groups and turning them around through fear. He would fire employees at the drop of a hat and would force the remaining employees to work twice as hard to pick up the slack out of fear of losing their jobs as well, thus pushing productivity up and payroll down. The company loved him. He'd only been with the company 10 years before he was elevated to executive level, something unheard of previously. Let's call this guy Scott. The last group Scott butchered resulted in 80 people being laid off. Due to union rules, those 80 people were allowed to bump 80 other people out of a job. The 80 less senior people all worked for a group that was vital to the backbone of the company. That group had 140 people in it, 80 of which would need to be trained for the next 4 months. This is a group where one small mistake could cost the company thousands of dollars, and large mistakes, maybe millions. They scoured the company looking for people who at least had a little knowledge of that job function and asked them to transfer temporarily to help fill in until the new people were properly trained. They offered a $30 a day bonus and another $24 a day for driving to a new office that was not my regular report. The promise of some extra money and tons of overtime convinced me to volunteer. It would be good to have another job function on my resume. The job was cool, learned a lot of stuff, and stayed for 5 months and was recalled early when Hurricane Katrina hit. My original group was tasked with rebuilding after all the damage, and it was all hands on deck. We were recalled. About 2 months later, here comes Scott. The need for help at the other group was still dire, so the call was put out to ask for volunteers to go back. Me, knowing Scott was our new area manager, knew there would be a catch, and there was. He found a loophole in the union rules that took away the extra money we were getting by changing the system to reflect that was our new place of reporting, and he would change it back when we got back. This was flouting the union rules, but as he said, there's nothing in the union book specifically saying I can't do that. And he was right. It said we should be paid if asked to report to an office that wasn't our normal place of business, but it didn't say management couldn't change that place of business on the fly. Upon learning that, I didn't sign up to go back. It wasn't worth it to me, and I figured it'd be good for any other person to go and learn some new stuff. As you can imagine, the union hated Scott. He broke rules and found loopholes around everything, He was personally responsible for half of the grievances they had to deal with. But the company had his back. He was like a supervillain. Even the union couldn't stop him. Once Scott found out all the previous people who went on loan refused to volunteer again, he took it as a personal insult for some reason. He told us all that instead of requiring the less senior people to go in our place, he would be forcing us to go. He can't do that. One of the hard-fast union rules that most unions are formed on is the respect of seniority. The low man on the pole gets the crap work. That's how it's always been. Per the rules, if we refuse to volunteer, then he would be required to go in reverse seniority to find new candidates. Scott said, "Nah, you guys will go or you will be terminated." Now you have to understand, Scott does not F around. If he says he will fire you, believe he will fire you. Sure, you could appeal to the union and all that, but there's no guarantee it'll work. And honestly, who wants to go through that? We all agreed to go. But we had a secret weapon. Scott didn't know that one of the people he was forcing to go back was high up in the union. She was the steward for our area and held some elected official title within the union. If a steward field had a grievance, it goes directly to the union president. The president of the union sent a letter to Scott telling him he was in violation of the union contract, and if he didn't recall us immediately, he would be subject to further action. This went over like a lead balloon. Scott proceeded to respond with a kind of F off, they're staying. And that was that, so he thought. And if one of my coworkers wasn't an official in the union, it probably would have been. But the union tried to grow some balls and go after the supervillain. He didn't have a loophole this time. He was in direct violation. No way to explain this one. The union contacted his boss, asking him to back down, and nothing came of that. Like I said, he could murder an employee in the break room and still have a job Monday morning. They loved him. After 3 months, the union played the only card they had left. They organized the union members in my office and said if we weren't recalled, there would be a strike at our office. This got Scott's attention. He asked for a sit-down meeting with the head of the union. They had a meeting where Scott proceeded to laugh in their face. He asked the union how long he had until they called a strike. They told him 90 days from signing an agreement to recall us. If he fails to call us back, there will be a strike until we return. Remember, we were already 3 months into this. Scott smiles and signs the agreement. He doesn't recall us. A week goes by, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, 2 months, 3 weeks, 6 days, 6.5 hours pass, and we got a call from our bosses to return to our original desks. The assignment was to be on loan for 6 months. Scott recalled us an hour and a half short of 6 months. He complied. A-hole. And our last story. Coworker was unbearable, so I made him go away. I'm in college and work at Food Place, which is a big chain, fast foodish place in the States. Last May, we got a new employee. We'll call him Jerry. Jerry was annoying from square one, but I tried to be nice and patient at first, as the job does not pay enough to have decent people 100% of the time. He would constantly disappear and come back clearly high and slouch around doing nothing to help. If you're one of those people who gets high and still works hard, no judgment, more power to you. One day, he lost a contact lens and left for 45 minutes to get a new one from home. He lived 5 minutes down the street, came back effed up out of his mind, and pretended like nothing happened. I think he was hooked on something a little more serious than weed, judging by his demeanor and the long-sleeve flannels he always wore, even in my area's extreme summer heat and humidity. Jerry was constantly butting into conversations, making inappropriate jokes, pretending like he'd known you forever, etc. This could have been overlooked if he was a good worker, but he was not. One of the really aggravating things about him was that he used a different accent/vernacular depending on the ethnicity of the person he was talking to, switching from, "What's up? How are you, bro?" to offensive stereotypical black voice, "What's up, brother? How you doing, homie?" He was one of those people constantly seeking the approval/love of others. So he was hired in May. By mid-July, all the employees in his store hated him. Everyone would constantly bitch about how crappy he was, and everyone wished he wasn't there. He had caught on to the fact that he was widely disliked and became an exponentially bigger piece of crap because of it. One day in July, he was particularly disgruntled and called one of my female coworkers, Shirley, a C-word for asking him to bring a bagel down to the food production line. We allow customers to switch the bread for a sandwich to a bagel, but don't keep them on the line. I wasn't a huge fan of Shirley either, but tolerated her as we both worked well together. When Shirley told me this, I was pretty disgusted and asked a simple question. "Do you want him gone?" She said yes. I'm a proactive person, so I did the following. I clocked out for a 15-minute break and went to the employee bathroom. Our company has this website where the customer can rate their experience and leave comments. These reviews are seen by the Dragon Lady, store manager's boss, who is terrifying. I created a throwaway email and went to my company's website. I went through the prompt, leaving 1 out of 5 stars for every option until I got to the comment section. In the comment section, I left this note. Names/company/locations changed. Hi, I was in the food place in Happytown, Oregon this morning and had a very disturbing experience. I asked one of your employees, think his name was Jerry, for extra butter with my bagel. He responded very sarcastically with a sure thing and gave it to me. As I was walking away, I heard him mutter the C word under his breath. The C word! I'm appalled and disgusted with my experience. I will not be patronizing your business anymore. He is not someone you want working for your company. I clocked back in and went on working. I didn't think much would come of it. Best case scenario, I thought, was that in a couple of days, something would come up about it and he would get a stern talking to. Nope. Literally 8 minutes later, the phone rings. My heart skips a beat. Deep down, I knew what was about to happen. I answer. Good morning. Thanks for calling Food Place. This is OP. How can I help you today? It's the big boss, Dragon Lady. She wants to speak to the store manager. I run to the office and tell store manager that Dragon Lady wants to speak with her. A few minutes later, store manager emerges and takes Jerry to the office. 30 minutes go by. I assume this was all deliberation between Jerry and store manager. When store manager comes back out, Jerry is nowhere to be found. I ask her where he was. Manager. Jerry has been fired. Me. With the best disbelief act I can pull off. What? Really? What happened? Manager. He mouthed off to a customer who wrote a report. Dragon Lady wanted him gone immediately. Make sure if you're going to talk crap about a customer that you go to the back to do it. To be honest, I didn't feel guilty at all during this whole excursion. I definitely had some heart-pounding, oh crap moments over the past few days, but it was because I thought I might be found out. I honestly made the store a better place by doing all of this. 8 months later, and I'm still working at Food Place. A couple other employees know what I did, but we don't ever speak of it. I have a sneaking suspicion that the store manager also knows, but she hates his guts as well and was looking for a reason to fire him at the time. I've been looking for internships/jobs in my field, and when I quit from Food Place, I'm definitely going to tell store manager. I think she'll get a kick out of it. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.